Howdy, everyone. Runt9 here, and welcome to Runt's Fireside Chat. It has been, a couple of weeks since since I did any streaming, and a couple of weeks since anything's gone out to you fellas over on YouTube as well. Um, so there's a lot to talk about. It's been an interesting couple of weeks here in the Texas area, as I'm sure many of you around the United States and around the world are very aware of. Bad timing on the better Twitch TV. Yeah, I did end up getting a couple things added in. Um, so it's probably going to be kind of hard to cut this one down to 30 minutes, but we'll do what we can. I appreciate all the support, everyone kind of checking up on me as and Emmy is the week of the Snowpocalypse or ice or no, it was Snowmageddon Icepocalypse a couple weeks ago. Last week was mostly just kind of de-stressing and also a little bit of a Pixelmon addiction for Emmy and myself. That'll be something to talk about as well. We've been having a lot of fun with that, and maybe we'll see the return of Minecraft on stream at some point in the future. But yeah, without further ado, why don't we jump in? We're gonna just chat for a little bit. So obviously the big thing that happened over the past couple of weeks is, Texas got hit with the, and really it was more than just Texas, Oklahoma and some other stuff, other states around here got hit pretty bad as well. Some of it even hit just below the border in northern Mexico as well. And I'm sure, news outlets aren't really picking that up very much, but you have to imagine like parts of the Rio Grande River were actually like straight up frozen. So yeah, we here in Texas, I think it was 5 nights straight of record low temperatures, and the lowest temperatures that we've seen since 1899. Here in the Austin area, we got 6 to 8 inches of snow, and there was some ice mixed in with that. So to the point where it was almost like a lasagna of snow, ice, based on how things fell. And yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, in addition to the low temperatures, was the fact that power turned out to be a huge problem. I'll kind of give my unbiased factual knowledge about the situation. You guys can read more opinionated stuff on the internet, as I'm sure you would expect. But essentially, in Texas, we are not actually joined to the power grid of the rest of the United States because the lawmakers throughout the past few decades kind of underwent some policy changes to allow Texas's power to be unregulated, to kind of drive competition between power companies. What that means from a benefit side for consumers is that they have the power to choose their power company a little bit more than you do in other states. And there's actually powertochoose.com is where most people go when like they're moving and setting up power for the first time, and you have a lot of different power company options, and there's a lot of competition, as well as competition between the different kinds of power in Texas, between nuclear, coal, natural gas, wind, and solar. But of course, the downside of that is if the network turns out to not be stable enough for certain natural disasters like a once in 100 year ice storm, then rather than saying, hey, US government, can you request, or other states, neighboring states, can you guys power on some of your reserves, some of your generators, and add a little bit of extra power to the grid? We weren't able to do that. We were in a situation where when the grid started failing, and you'll hear, certain people say certain things, essentially it was a cascade problem. Demand obviously went up because, again, record low temperatures, huge amounts of ice and snow. Um,
Oh, baby!
Yo, Luffy, thank you for the sub 9 months in a row. Thank you so much, brother. Much appreciated. The timing on that. Because that's the sub sound, and we're sitting here talking about something that caused one of the worst natural disasters in Texas over the past 100 years. Perfect timing, Luffy. Thank you. Um, yeah, the essentially what happened was a cascading failure of demand increased, and there were failures in various power plants and power networks throughout the state. Um, there were some wind power plants, and Texas actually has a huge amount of renewable energy because we have large wind farms out in West Texas. We ran into some situations where um, most of our windmills are not winterized because they can perform down into 20-degree weather just fine without being winterized. 20 degrees being just a little bit below 0 Celsius, not by too much. Like maybe around -6, -8 Celsius. They can handle that just fine. The problem was we got lower than that. We got into, near zero or below zero, which puts you in the, -20, -30 degrees Celsius for a week, on top of having a lot of precipitation. So we had windmills that were frozen. We had water supplies going to coal and natural gas power plants freeze up, which shut down some of our coal power plants. In addition, a lot of the state gets their heat via natural gas. So there were people that may have had electricity but couldn't run their heater because gas pipelines were frozen. And so, from a factual perspective, it was a failure in many different cases, um, for many different reasons. And we try not to get political here on this channel, and so I won't. But obviously, there were a lot of reasons why many people throughout the state were without power, without heat, burst water pipes, flooding their houses and apartments and condominiums. Um, you know, Food was difficult to get to. Essentially, the whole state was shut down for a week. You couldn't go out to the grocery store. You couldn't get on the roads. I mean, we don't salt our roads down here. We use sand, and you may or may not know, sand does not lower the freezing temperature of water nearly as much as salt does. And we don't have heated roads or heated pipes or anything like that. Because to Texas, getting below freezing is reasonably commonplace during the winter, but not by more than a few degrees. Again, it was record low temperatures for basically a week, and Texas isn't winterized. If you were to talk to the average, you know, structural engineer in Texas, they'll tell you, why would we prepare for 1% of 1% of 1% happening when it's hard enough to just spend money on ensuring things work under normal conditions? It's far more likely that we're going to deal with heat related problems than cold related problems in the state. And so, that's how we ended up in the situation where, Emmy and I live in a brand new house that we built and moved into early this year. And we were without power for it was rolling blackouts, but the blackouts got longer and longer throughout the week, to the tune of our longest blackout, I think, was around 26 hours. Fortunately, again, living in a brand new house, it didn't get below, the lowest that it got inside the house was 53 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably around 10 or 15 degrees Celsius. Um, So we got very fortunate. I have a friend up in Dallas who his house got got down basically near freezing the first night. So obviously we're very fortunate. We had to boil water for 2 weeks basically. Like our boil water notice only lifted like maybe 5 days ago. Um, our pipes did freeze at one point. Fortunately, Emmy, the genius that she is, was like, "Hey, we should fill up some bathtubs of water while we have it," because she just had this like instinctual feeling that we were gonna have frozen pipes. And lo and behold, our pipes froze. We couldn't flush our toilets. We couldn't get water to drink, and so we could just go upstairs, grab a pot of water out of the bathtub to flush our toilets, or boil it on the stove and have some drinking water. And so that ended up saving us from not having water. So it's definitely one of the hardest things that we've been through. But we were able to get through it together. We had a lot of foresight ahead of time. We grabbed multiple flashlights. We got 2 packs of bottled water, which got us through the worst of it. We ended up needing to boil water for drinking for a few days after the worst of it was over. But we yeah, I mean, we worked together, we made it through, and like our biggest concern pretty much the whole time was just making sure that Mio was going to be okay. She's not old for a cat, but she is around 10 years old. And so we were basically just doing everything we could to make sure she was keeping warm. We read online the temperature at which it starts to become dangerous for cats, and fortunately it never got that low. But we were setting up blankets and whatnot. I mean, Emmy, being the cold-natured person she is, and has gone to like Renaissance fairs and camped outside, she had like 3 or 4 extra comforters we could use to sleep at night. So all things considered, like it could have been infinitely worse for us. I don't actually know what the total death toll was throughout the state, and it may still be going on. Um, but we were fortunate not only to not end up with any sort of health issues, but honestly just end up being perfectly okay. All right, Luffy, I'll catch you here in a little bit. Um, so yeah, that was a thing, and I mean, we were able to keep calm through most of it, but she and I both kind of had a little bit of breakdowns towards the end of it. Just it was a lot. It was a lot to handle, but we made it through, and we're okay. And like I said, last week was mostly just kind of relaxing and getting back to normal. And because it's Texas, like 3 days after it was still well below freezing, it was 82 degrees outside, which is like 30 C. Because that's Texas for you. It's a temperate climate, and we will legitimately have snow, and then the next day it'll be sunny and warm. And that's basically what happened once the snow went away. I mean, it took a solid 3 days of normal weather for the snow to melt too. There was a lot of it on the ground. But yeah, we're okay. Mio's okay. Things are back to normal. The house held up well. No burst pipes, nothing like that. And so, I can drink water out of the fridge again. Probably need to throw out the ice. I just remembered that we haven't actually done that yet. But yeah. So what we spent most of the week on during our spare time, um, when we got back to normal, was I was watching twitch.tv/alpaca patrol. Rob, one of the friends of the Northern Lion Live Super Show, which exists but also kind of doesn't exist anymore. He was playing some Minecraft. I've been watching a lot of the Dadcraft stuff going on, but he was actually showing off a little bit of his solo world with Pixelmon. Obviously, those of you who know Emmy and myself know that we are fairly big Pokemon fans, and reasonably big Minecraft fans. We both remember Pixelmon from like probably 7 or 8 years ago at this point, when it was first starting out. And I mean, it was really raw. Like, you could get a starter and there were static Pokemon in the world, no animations, basically nothing you could do. You couldn't battle, you couldn't do anything like that. And I saw Rob playing it, and I was like, there seems to be a little bit more to it. But Amy and I were both still like super but I was like, why don't I pop on the Pixelmon site and just kind of see how it's going. And we hop on and I start reading through some of the stuff that's implemented, and like they're up through Gen 8 Pokemon. Like they only are 30 short of having all 850 something. Emmy's not in chat, so she can't tell me the correct number, but she would know. Uh, and you've got battling and gyms and all sorts of interesting stuff. And like, you know what? It seems like there might be enough in the game to fire up a little LAN server and see what happens. I probably spent I would guess 50 hours this past week on it. Emmy was on for a large portion of that as well, and it's it ended up being a ton of fun. She started off with the Charmander, and it was in a roundabout sense kind of a dream come true for her to be able to fly on a Charizard in Minecraft. And it was super cool. There are actual custom maps that are pretty decent. Can you find like a link or something and drop that in Discord? Because I'm actually curious about that. We're just playing on a random Minecraft seed. Um, but between watching Dadcraft and playing some of that, I'm finding more desire to play more Minecraft again. Honestly, the biggest problem I have with Pixelmon is that it's still on 112, and watching a lot of the Dadcraft stuff, they're on current version, which is 116. I believe 117 is the Caves update that's coming out in summer. Every time that I see like a handy, useful thing that they're using in Dadcraft, it was introduced in 114, like the stone cutter or the composter or scaffolding, all that kind of stuff. There's a ton of stuff that was introduced in 114. Like going back and looking through what was introduced is like one of the biggest updates ever to Minecraft. And unfortunately, Pixelmon is a little behind on that because they're stuck to whatever Minecraft Forge is on, and I guess 113 changed a lot of stuff about the game. So that's honestly my only complaint, but it makes me kind of want to dig into Minecraft a little bit more again. So it may be something that could happen on the channel in the future, whether it's Pixelmon or otherwise, sort of a community Minecraft server. I think it could be a lot of fun to just kind of have something running all the time, and let people go in and out at their will and enjoy it. I don't know how many of you out there play Minecraft. I know, Adrian, you and I were talking about it, that you've bought it on console, but you don't have it on PC. Luffy isn't here right now. I don't know if he's got Minecraft, but it could be fun. I'm enjoying, even though I'm not very creative, and so I tend to be function over form. I'm trying to get a little bit better about the form of things. So I'm getting more interesting. Minecraft is definitely one of those you always keep around. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it makes for not a great stream game for me, but I don't know. I think it's one of those where if we ever just want to have like a chill stream where we just kind of sit back and relax, I could see it fitting in again. And especially like if Emmy and I end up getting bored of the Pokemon Challenge stuff, or we finish either Soul Silver or start a Platinum playthrough and want to do something else, maybe we'll pop into some Minecraft on stream in the future. So there's certainly stuff that could happen there. So, maybe keep an eye out for some Minecraft type stuff in the future. But yeah, I mean that's what most of this past week has been, and the week before that was the ice apocalypse. So, getting back to normal. And, something that I kind of brought up in Discord is trying to figure out, the future of the channel. And I think that I'm kind of at that stage where I either want to figure out a way to devote more time to all of this or less time. Because I'm in this weird middle ground where I'm putting some emphasis on trying to grow the channel, but not actually spending the time on doing what needs to be done for the growth. We've started cutting up some Twitch VODs and pushing them over to YouTube, and we've started, trying to do a little bit more, scheduling things ahead of time so you guys know what's coming throughout the week, stuff like that. But I feel like there's just so much more that we could do. Actually, taking the time to build collaborations and try to get a community of other streamers going, stuff like that. And it's one of those things where I like streaming, but the motivation isn't there quite as much as it was. It's a hobby that I definitely enjoy, and I like being able to have a chance to be here with chat. But sometimes we have those streams where some of the regulars aren't able to make the stream, and I feel kind of empty when I'm streaming to no one. And I I recognize that, like, not every stream is going to pop off and be 8-10 plus viewers every time, but I would like to find a way to build a larger consistent audience where if one or two people that aren't here, that there's still people that are hanging out in chat that we can have a good time with. Because I do enjoy this, and I think the chat interaction is the biggest piece for me. The education and analysis. I like being able to answer questions and talk about what we're playing, and kind of get into the nitty gritty of things, and also kind of have that back and forth of question and answer, or chat teaches me something, I teach chat something, a lot of that kind of stuff. And last week was kind of that part of, like, this hobby takes time and it takes effort, and I want to find a way to figure out how it's going to be pieced into life long term, because as time goes by, Amy and I own this house now instead of renting where we were before. And so there's going to be more things to do around the house, and more projects that we're going to be starting on that we didn't necessarily have that ability to do before. So there's going to be more hobby opportunities building up on the side than just streaming. And so if that's the case, then will I have less time for streaming and less time for making YouTube stuff and whatnot? And maybe the answer is I need to just devote some time, like before the stream on Sundays or something, to figuring out, just incremental improvement. Go hang out in someone else's chat and just try to make friends with other streamers, because as far as I know, that's one of the best ways, the best way to grow your channel as a small streamer, is find ways to collaborate with people that are a little bit bigger than you. So, like, we may have, I think 6 to 7 is probably our usual average for a good stream. And, maybe we find someone who averages around like 15 viewers, because then you kind of join with their community and you get some overlap. Maybe you get 1 or 2 people there, and then you collaborate with someone else that has around the same amount, and you get 1 or 2 people there that kind of overlap, and you start building these overlapping communities. The process could be tedious, though, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm kind of alluding to. Is I want to get to the point where I know that there's the likelihood of us ever, years down the road, getting to partner level is near zero. You pretty much have to get lucky. Like, you have to get rated by someone with 1,000 viewers and have, a bunch of people latch on and really like you. And that's just like, that's never going to happen. And I'm totally fine with that. But getting into that 10 to 20 viewer range on average is kind of like my target, my goal, where even a bad stream is, 8 to 10 viewers. Right now, a bad stream is it's literally just me. And those streams can be really demotivating. I feel like I have less to talk about when I know that there's not people watching. And I've tried to do the stuff where I turn off viewer count and try not to focus on it. But when chat's not moving, like it still makes it obvious that there's not a lot of people around. And I like the thought of having a larger group of regulars because it also I like seeing the chat interaction not just with me, the streamer, but between each other. When in the it's kind of weird to call it the glory days, but kind of in that May, June, April, May, June time frame when we were really accelerating our growth. Um, we had stuff like Adrian, Luffy, Yudi, and there were a few other people, and y'all were all just kind of doing duels and heists and all that stuff with the Streamlabs points, and it was a lot of fun. And that was also when we were seeing some of the beginnings of the YouTube growth. Although I think the YouTube growth was really when the top tens happened. And now we've got a couple videos over 1,000 views with Nefertofel and Lawgivers that popped off. And that's part of why I wanted to go back to YouTube stuff as well. We've got I think it's 64 subscribers over there. There's people that like watching this stuff, and I reach out to you guys. I'd love to have you guys come check out some of the live streams as well. We have a lot of fun over here. We pretty much at this point everything that you're seeing on YouTube was recorded on Twitch. Just because I don't necessarily have the time to do Twitch and make bespoke YouTube videos. So I encourage you to come over, check out our streams, twitch.tv/Runt9plays, if you can. If not, totally understand. And just try to figure out how we can grow our community. Or I can go the other direction, turn off viewer counts and, not worry about the production value and all of that, and just like turn on the stream and play games and ignore all the metrics and analytics and whether there is or isn't chat interaction, and just be like, I'm going to turn on the stream and I'm going to play games, and if there's people watching, great. If there's not, that's fine. And I'm going to have a good time. I just don't know if that's sustainable long term from a enjoyment and motivation perspective. And that's why I'm leaning more towards figuring out how I'm going to put more effort in things long term. And I feel like you guys have probably been hearing me say this for almost the entire year that I've been doing this now, where it's like, I'm going to be putting more time into this. There was like, I'm going to build my own chat bot and integrate it with YouTube and Discord, and it's going to be super cool. And then like I started on it one day and never touched it again. I don't know. It's difficult to talk about because I feel like you go a little bit too much behind the scenes and it kind of pushes people away. Because I'm not chasing money, I'm chasing community. I don't care if we have 100 viewers and literally none of them are subscribed. I would much prefer just having a group of people here hanging out, having a good time. I can teach them, they can teach me. It's just a lot of fun. Hello, Adrian. Anyways, I think we're kind of right around that 30-minute mark. It's probably time to wrap things up and go ahead and call it here. So once again, I'm happy to be back. I'm glad that nothing crazy happened. Thank you again for the support during what was a really rough time for Emmy and myself. And I appreciate just the community being there for us. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how things go this week, kind of getting back into the swing of things, going back to our roots with a week that's going to be nothing but roguelikes. There's going to be a lot of cool content coming to YouTube this week, and I hope you guys look forward to that as well. But I think that is going to do it. I'm going to be staying live here on Twitch If you guys want to check out these Fireside Chats live in the future, check out twitch.tv/Runt9plays, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sundays, and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday through Wednesday. And we're playing a bunch of fun games this week. Make sure you come check it out over on YouTube. Appreciate all the support over there as well. And that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I am Runt9, and I'll see you later.